and Allah will come to my aid and assist me. That is the confidence with which we will find Allah, the inner, the truer Allah. And if I object against Islam's edicts, then it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prompting me from within to object to it. Look at the process of Tawbah. Islam in itself at times becomes the restricting factor, not the Islam of the Prophet or Islam which is the true reality of existence, but Islam as I have understood or Islam as dictated to me. So what if the Maulana says something, if the thing does not make sense? Truly, look at how we need to do Tawbah. Do I need to go to a Maulana and ask Maulana, can I feed a starving stomach because it's not a Muslim? Do I need the Maulana to tell me anything? By Allah, insaniya, our humanity should helplessly give. Just as Allah, His godly nature, His blind love, His consumed passionately with the well-being of His creatures, feeds one and all, the one who calls Him Allah, the one who calls Him Bhagwan, the one who calls Him Jehovah, and the one who denies Him. He feeds all of them equally. Doesn't He? And then, if somebody drinks alcohol, or somebody commits a crime, or somebody is Hindu, I condemn them to the pits of hell. Do I not need to do Tawbah here? To revert to the core of my own being, that if my son were to consume alcohol, the greatest pleasure that I would find is if that son came back to me and abandoned alcohol. I would tolerate with him. I would bear with him, wouldn't I? If a child of mine is on the wrong path, I would experience the greatest pleasure if he could come back to the right path, and there Allah Jalla Jalaluhu is condemning all his creatures to the pit of hell. What sort of Allah is this that we have understood? And how that notion of Allah and that notion of Islam that has been supplied to us has restricted us not only intellectually but at the core of our beings. As we increase in beauty, the more difficult the task of Tawbah becomes. For whereas before we were in sin, a state of restriction due to our own inadequacies, once emerging out of those and coming into the folds of Islam, the restrictions become religiously ordained by Islam, and that is the greatest deception. That at one point, when we were not truly Muslims, we could attribute them to our own ignorance. After becoming Muslims, Islam ordains such things. What sort of God is this that we worship, who says to us, do good and I will reward you, do evil and I will punish you? Also, God, how empty and mundane is all of this? You, the creator of this vast universe, you have created a little speck of dust known as earth. And upon this speck of dust, there are microscopic creatures known as human beings. And you are so grand and lofty, and yet you are telling them that do good and I'll give you good, do evil and I'll punish you. Is this a game? Does any of it make sense? A free person, a liberated person from within and from the mind will know that there is much more to this than what I've understood. It is here where Tawbah is needed, where we need to break away at the veils, where we need to push forward, where we need to beautifully emerge and grow through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Allah's hands, that divine architect, He will be the one who fashions us, mold upon mold upon mold. Become like the snake, shed your skin and emerge into another being. It's a constant process of emergence. Now from here was born a question that can Allah forgive Yazid? Let us just talk about this momentarily, because we want to talk about another particular a particular thing that we need to uphold in spiritual wayfaring. But before we come to that, can Allah forgive Yazid? We need to distinguish here. The word cannot touch Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. The word cannot touch Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. When we say Allah is all-knowing, it is false. It is wrong. The way Ali ibn Abi Talib salamullah alayhi teaches us is very, very different to the way we have understood. He states to say Allah is all-knowing is nothing but shirk. We can only say this, that Allah is not ignorant. Whatever that means is Allah. We can't say Allah is all living. All we can say is Allah is not dead. Whatever the opposite is Allah. Is Allah all capable? All we can say is that Allah doesn't have any inability. It's contrary. Whatever it is Allah. We can never know His entirety and His beauty at its peak. For when I say Allah is knowing, I'm predicating Allah with knowledge. And that predication is my intellectual, mental work. And I'm confining Allah, and it is less than what Allah is. I can only say that I know Allah is not ignorant. It's opposite, that Allah is all-knowing, that is Allah. This is known as negative theology. This is how we understand Allah intellectually, and this is how we begin to feel Him at the core of our beings. At the core of our beings. We need to distinguish here. Is what can Allah forgive? Is a very absurd question. There is nothing Allah can't forgive. Yes? There is no limit to Allah's forgiveness. However, there is a difference between the giver and the recipient. Can Yazid receive that forgiveness? It's like saying, can a chair be a table? We can say, yes, the chair can potentially be a table. But whilst the chair is a chair, it cannot be a table. This is how it is. Can the sun stop emitting its rays? Never. If the sun stopped emitting its rays, the sun will not be a sun. However, it is not necessary that every plant should receive the light, because there may be an impediment on top of that plant. The impediment needs to be removed. And once the impediment is removed, the light shall reach it, and it shall evolve into a tree where it will no longer be a plant. So can Allah forgive Yazid? Of course, there is nothing Allah can't forgive. Can Yazid receive forgiveness, the recipient? The answer is, so long as Yazid is Yazid, it can't. So long as Yazid is Yazid, he can't. Yazid has to change from within, has to involve himself in the process of tawbah and evolution, and that is the meaning of forgiveness. It is just like peeling away the impediment before somebody can grow. Let's explain this in a very simple example. If I were to take a blind person to a beautiful scene and say, behold the glory of Allah, do you think he would be able to appreciate the sight when he is blind? Or if I were to take somebody who is deaf to a symphony and say, hear the beautiful music, would he be able to appreciate it? If somebody who doesn't understand Urdu, if we were to take them to a gathering of the poets, would they appreciate the caliber of Urdu that is there? No. Similarly, if Yazid is placed inside the folds of heaven, he would not be able to understand what heaven is. It all comes from here. The external heaven is very secondary to the internal one. So the answer is yes, Allah can forgive one and all. Allah is the forgiver. It is the name of Allah. But the recipient may not be able to receive it. Now, one of the things that we are totally misunderstanding is that by becoming Muslims or sincere, there are no magic cures there. There are no magic wands that Allah waves on our heads and makes us into better people. It's an arduous task of emergence. It is very, very difficult. Look at the way Ayub is being